Hey everyone, welcome. In today's video, I'm going to show you how I made these spooky trees. So it's a pretty easy process, but it can be pretty messy. And I'm going to go through some tips for you to start with. So here are my little trees, and kind of let you get a little bit of a close-up look of them. The whole point was I was on a quest to make fake bark for a journal cover for my tree journal, and I was messing around, and well, you know, one thing leads to another. Your eyes see something or your brain sees something, and I accidentally got a hole in one and discovered I could make a spooky tree. So here's this larger one. This is made with regular sized tissue paper, and here's the piece I started with. And when I made that knot hole, that's when I realized, and I didn't even finish that one because I went, wait a minute. little bit of crafty ADHD. So that's just plain old cheapo tissue paper right there. The small tree is made with the Tim Holtz plain collage paper. Either one will work. So I'm just trying to get a bark texture that will work well on a journal cover. And then since I was already a mess, I decided to make some more skins because I thought that I'm going to do something cool maybe with Spencer tonight on my live. But I used Crackle Paste on top of these, and I painted it on with my fingers because I just hate cleaning brushes. So I did multiple shades of green so that I could do Myron. In, you know, like really creepy skin. So I made all these colors to kind of go along with what I'm seeing on the packaging. That's just hickory smoke and pumice stone. And then this one, look how tough this stuff is. So I painted both sides with the solution, and I also used the Crackle Paste. And for the coloring, I used the Distress Embossing Glaze, but I thought that'd make a cute little journal cover. And this one is a little floppy. I did use some of this Distress Embossing powder. This is the only one I have. I got it in a grab bag from Ranger. Man, I wish I had more of that stuff in dark colors. That stuff's cool. I don't know why it was discontinued, and this is just a cleanup piece of tissue. And then I've got these little pieces. To me, they look like little bits of mushrooms, so I'm definitely going to save and use them. I know I'm kind of crazy, but yeah, just, I mean, if you got your mess out, you might as well go for it, right? So here's these little spooky trees. Now my recommendation is that you have some sort of a silicone mat that you can pick up and carry away, because these have to dry, and so you want them to, you know, you don't want them to block up your craft space, or maybe you do. Anyway, I think that I'll go ahead and show you how I made these. So what I have here is a piece of the Ideology Tim Holtz collage paper, the plain one. And this is Elmer's glue, a little bit of Distress Re-Inker of Vintage Photo, and some water. So it's about, I would say, almost half and half, a little more glue than water. And what I do is I just crinkle up my tissue. And this one I'm kind of crinkling kind of in a sort of more of an accordion style, because I, you know, want to make a, I'm not making a square. What am I making? I'm making a tall, skinny rectangle. And this one I made with the smaller paper. One, just to show you that you can use either one. And then two, because I want a tree that's small enough to fit on a greeting card, right? Because I make cards. I'm a card maker. I like to make mixed media, and I like to make journals. I like to do it all, but primarily I make cards. So I wanted this to be able to fit, you know, on a standard A2 size card. You can see my hands are a mess here, and that's because I just finished that other tree. So I don't bother cleaning up until I'm done. And all I'm going to do, same like my monster skin, is just basically soak this stuff onto the tissue paper. So you want it nice and wet. It's this, I'm not gonna lie, dude, this is a gooey mess, but oh my gosh, it's so much fun. I don't mind making messes at all. So all I'm doing is just getting this gluey, watery solution down on here and moving the paper around with my brush. So I can sort of shape it into a tree. And you can see its face is already starting to form. So what I'm doing is I'm just really scrubbing at that part, trying to create a little hole so I can create the mouth. And it's being a little stubborn, so this paper is a little bit tougher than regular tissue paper, this collage paper. But you can still make the hole. And all I'm doing here is just moving my brush back and forth, just trying to shape this mouth. I don't want a happy mouth, I want a mean mouth. I want a cruel mouth. Yeah, so just kind of poking the paper around some more. And then now I'm going to work on the eyes. And I want some spooky eyes. I'm going to help it with the other end of my little brush here. Well, and two, I like to, use up all my product. I don't really want to throw any of this product away. And I know it's not going to store for that long. So you want to be mindful about how much you make, unless you feel like just doing a bunch of projects. And you might as well, since you have your stuff out, right? Might as well just do a whole bunch of them and just keep them in your stash for when you need them. And what I've discovered is you could really do any shape you want. But, this is a textured shape, so, you're going to want to make something that's going to require the texture. You could do little mushrooms, mushroom stems. You could do, textured flowers. I mean, you can see how easy this stuff is to shape once it's wet. And I'm just pushing things back and forth until I'm happy with the shape. So he's obviously a stump, right? He could be a tree, but, and you could add greenery later, and that's my plan. I need to do something with Spencer this week, so I'm thinking on my live tonight, I'm going to put Spencer in an enchanted forest, and we'll see. We'll see how that works out. It's all an experiment. So now I've got my Vintage Photo Distress Spray Stain, and I'm spraying it. It's already starting to look to life. And then I'm using my forest moss, and I'm using primarily the forest moss. Just because it's kind of give the impression of sort of lichen. And the next thing I do is I start taking my embossing glazes, and I just sprinkle it on. Pardon the interruption there. My breakfast was ready. So what I have here is Fossilized Amber. And I'm just spreading it with my fingers in a few little places. And what I like to do is I like to start out with slow heat. So I use my heated tool because it doesn't blow really hard. It doesn't blow it away, just to get it started melting. Some of it's going to blow away, I promise you. As I said, this project's a hot mess, but it's still worth it. So then I go in with my regular heat tool, starting at low speed, and then I move it to high speed until I get that embossing fluid melted. Now it's in that gluey, watery solution, so it takes a little bit longer. And I like to melt it until it's really bubbling. So basically burn it, I don't know. But it bubbles for two reasons. It bubbles because of the glue drying, and it bubbles because it's hot molten plastic, so don't touch it. Anyway, I'm going to move with that one, and then I'll move on to my next color, which is going to be the peeled paint. And I'm just going to dab on some more of this gluey stuff, and then pour the peeled paint and accidentally spill a bunch. Most of that'll blow away, even though some of those parts are wet as well. And I'm going quite a bit because, remember, I wanted to stick with kind of a green hue for this little tree, for this little spooky tree. And same thing, starting with my heat tool, just to kind of maybe melt some of it on there so the whole thing doesn't blow away. And then I'll move on to my regular heat tool for embossing. And just move it around. Now make sure you're working on a surface. It's okay to get hot. I've got a glass mat, and then I've got 2 silicone mats here. So I'm not concerned about the heat at all. I used to be afraid that my glass mat would crack, but apparently it won't. So, yay for that. So I'm just melting it and see how I'm watching it, getting it bubbly. This is what I want. I want these creepy little bubbles. And my little spooky tree is really starting to take shape now. And you don't have to do this. You can leave it at the last step and call it done. It would work just fine. But me, I have to be extra. So now I'm going to go in with a little vintage photo. So, you know, I want my tree to be multiple colors. And notice I'm going in around the eyes and mouth because I want those to kind of be darker. And I'll put some in the middle there. Most of it will blow away, but not all of it. And that's where you have an opportunity in the end to make the little raggedy sort of eyes. So same procedure, starting with my heated tool and then moving on. The mat that I have multiples of this. I bought this huge roll of silicone, basically shelf liner, from QVC, and I've cut it into multiple parts because, yeah, I have multiple projects and I keep losing them, and they do eventually get ruined. You know, accidentally poke holes in it and stuff like that. So I'm just melting the embossing glaze till it's bubbly. And this thing is still wet. To get these off, and you do want to kind of take them off, is once they're dry enough, you just sort of peel them up. So you could also use parchment paper if you don't have any silicone. That'll work just fine. Don't use wax paper because the wax will melt. Now I'm finally going in with some walnut stain to get that real darkness here. I'm doing quite a bit of it. That's one hot looking mess right there. And this one I really want to bubble, so I'm going to spend a lot of time with heat on it. I'll go in with my big one and you'll see it kind of blow away a little bit, but not too bad because I have laid it down on already hot embossing glaze, so it's kind of stuck to that too, as well as the little glue spots. You see how it's bubbly? Ooh, creepy. Me, I like my creepy stuff. You know what? I can do sweet and simple just like the rest of us. But if something can be complicated, I'm on it because I love, I love a challenge here. And there we go. He's all bubbly and disgusting and just what you want a spooky tree to be. So I've let that cool. And I want it to dry a bit, so we'll come back. All right, so it's dry, picked up. You see where the embossing glaze is kind of filled in around the eyes. And I'm just going to take a little tool with a sharp edge, doesn't matter what, and just start to peel that kind of up and out. And this is still pliable, so you can still shape it. It's going to be pliable forever, I guess. It never is going to get super hard. So I just want to move around pieces of it and get the eyes cleared out. And I might put something sparkly behind the eyes. And there's the mess. It cleans up easily with water, so that's good to know, as long as you're working on silicone. And if you're working on parchment paper, well, you know, don't clean it. Put it in your junk journal. All right, so next thing I want to do here is I want to get some crackle on this guy. I'm not done with texture by any means. So I've got my translucent crackle paste here, and I'm just going to put it on in random spots with my finger because I don't feel like cleaning a tool. And once I get that down where I like it, I'm going to let it dry. But before I do that, I feel like I need some more brown in here. So I'll get this spread on where I want, and then I'll use my re-inker to get the darker color in there. Just don't want to use too much, and I want to use the re-inker because the re-inker is nice and concentrated color, versus if I were to use like the spray, it would get it too wet and I might not get my crackle effect. And I'm just kind of picking up, you know, with my finger and just patting this around. So I'm having, after my live, during my live tonight, but after my live, I'm having a giveaway. So I bought the, well, here it is drying. See how this one is still drying? It's still got some light spots on it. Anyway, here I've got my Vintage Photo re-inker, and I'm just putting a couple of dabs down on my mat. I'm going to be giving away the Stamped Timber Tim Holtz, the Santa Claus with the snowflakes. I bought one for me and one for you. And all you need to do to win is watch my live tonight, Thursday, October 6th, and comment after my live video. Sorry again with the interruptions. Anyway, I'm just dabbing my finger in the ink and then just dabbing it onto my little spooky tree. And where was I? Oh yeah. So the giveaway, it is going to be open to international. I want somebody that doesn't have this set to have a set, which is why I bought two. And, you know, I love you guys. You support my channel, so I want to support you. So make sure you watch tonight, my live. And, you know, you're going to leave a comment, and I'll give more directions on my live tonight. So here you can see me just kind of shaping trying to shape just some more kind of, I don't know, lines into the tree like you would see in a spooky crotchety tree bark. Oh my gosh, my dog's outside screaming. He was outside for 1 second and that was just too long. So you can see how you can still shape and refine the edges of this. Give it a good 24 hours. Anyway, that's it for me. Thanks for watching. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up and consider subscribing. Have a great day.